So those of you who've followed Transport Evolved for a while will know that we had two RAV4 EVs. This one, which is not the one that Nikki just sold, this is the white one which I've had. So there was Nikki's one which was gifted to Transport Evolved as a non-working vehicle that we managed to get up and running but could never quite get reliable. And this one, which had a new battery pack installed about 8,000 miles before we bought it, and it has been our daily driver. Either I or my partner has used it for the last year. Nearly a year ago, actually, we started having occasional problems charging. Initially, people suggested that we should replace the auxiliary battery. So on these cars, particularly the early RAV4 EVs, but also this tends to be a problem with newer EVs, when they have the lead acid battery as their auxiliary battery, that's often used as to power the systems just to turn the car on, essentially. So it never gets that drain that it would normally get. So a 12-volt battery will normally, in a standard car, in an ICE vehicle, will get drained fairly substantially when you start, and then it's charged up by the alternator. So it gets a deep, not a full deep discharge, but it gets a high current discharge. In an EV, that doesn't really happen. So what happens instead is that it's constantly trickle charged, and the charging system in the RAV4 is not very good. It tends to quite rapidly kill the auxiliary battery. The RAV4 EV has a mailing list. It's old enough that it doesn't really have a forum, but it has a mailing list, and they are great folks on there. They initially suggested that I should try changing the 12-volt auxiliary battery. So I did that. That didn't help. But because it was such an intermittent fault, it would charge most days and then you'd come home and it just wouldn't charge. And then a couple of people suggested the charge capacitor. So it has a charge capacitor, and Toyota's specification for the charge capacitor possibly wasn't quite big enough. So I checked that, and that's already been changed and looked healthy. So then the next thing that was suggested was that maybe the charger was at fault. And actually that turned out to be the problem. $400 got me a used GM charger. So it's actually a charger which I think was for the EV1, but ours is being used to charge our RAV4. And it's smaller and lighter than the Toyota charger. It doesn't, apparently it's got some design flaws, but I'm hoping at some point to fit the J1772 charger, which you can get from a guy in Norway when he's finished designing it. So he's designed the kit. He wants someone to beta test it. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, I get a kit to install on this car, and I'll document installation. I used to be a technical writer, so I can document that, and we will have a J1772 connector, which will make life a bit easier. I quite like the paddle charger. I actually like the paddle charger much more than the J1772. It's kind of chunk and it's forget, and you don't have to worry. I don't worry about it getting wet. Well, I do a little bit because our stand is not very waterproof, because I knocked it up to last a few weeks and it's ended up lasting a year and a half, which is kind of par for the course with me. Yeah, so the J1772, you don't like, I just don't like it when it gets wet. I'm like, yeah, I like plugging this in, and I know it's low voltage while it's going in, and then it's high voltage and it's really well insulated and it's designed to cope with the rain, I know that. But it's not quite as nice as the inductive paddle where you're like, I know there is no electricity here, it's just like magic. It's not magic, obviously, but it feels like magic. So we're going to be putting a tow bar on the RAV, and having forked out the nearly $200 for the tow bar, the hitch, the ball, the wiring adapter, everything, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I don't really know what sort of state the batteries are in. We've put nearly just over 10,000 miles on the car in the last year. So that puts the batteries at around 20,000 miles old. The batteries in this car, you can't get new ones. But that means the EV95 batteries in the car, when it was reconditioned, those came from used RAV4 EVs. Generally, they were pretty low mileage ones, But this was installed by the company that Toyota chose to look after the RAV4 EV, despite the fact they weren't really providing support. So they, you know, this company have a big stock of parts. They had, until recently, batteries. They're no longer going to be supplying battery packs, unfortunately. But thankfully, I suppose, because Nikki sold her RAV4 EV. The one thing she didn't sell with it is the device for monitoring it. So most of you who have EVs will have some kind of thing on your smartphone that you can connect to Bluetooth and connect to the car that way, or you can connect to it via the internet because the car connects to the internet. Well, 15 years ago that didn't happen. So what I have is Nikki's Palm Pilot. So this is a if you remember Palm Pilots, this is a device from about 15 years ago. This is an M505 Palm Pilot, for those of you who care. It has actually a whole bunch of different apps. So there's an app written in 2009 called EV Monitor, which allows you to look at the state of the batteries. We try and maintain the car pretty well, though you probably can't tell that from the little bits of green around the door, because I don't really wash cars. Nikki kind of guessed that I'm selling our other car because there were pictures of it on Flickr where it had been washed, and she's like, Kate, you must be selling it because it's clean. It's true, but you're not meant to say that. It looks like our car's pretty healthy, so hopefully it should be on the road quite a while longer. The packs, if they're well looked after, seem to last around 100,000 miles. Obviously this is a used pack, so I don't really expect to get 100,000 miles out of it, but you know, you might get 60 or 70,000 miles out of it if it's well looked after. Other problems. Oh, other problems. So the door lock stopped working. So this is the RAV4 EV key, which is a standard Toyota key from, you know, the late 90s. And ours had the optional upgrade to have a fob. I can tell that because Toyota have some of the service history, and it says, you know, this was installed. So there are two Toyota dealers in Olympia. I had a pretty poor interaction with the first one where I pulled up and they said it'd be $200 to plug the car in, and I went, yeah, no thanks. So I went to the other Toyota dealer today, which was actually quite fun. So he didn't know that Toyota had made any electric vehicles, except for the plug-in Prius. But we had a bit of a chat, and we're having a, you know, nice friendly chat about the car. And then two of the guys there, and I do mean guys, two of the guys there, I overheard the words, "It's from California," and I looked around and they were like, "Is that yours?" And we had a chat, and they knew about them. And were super interested, so that was really positive. And I also arrived to the sound of Eddie Grant. I arrived to the sound of Eddie Grant, Electric Avenue, and I'm assuming they didn't put that on purpose, but it was pretty funny. So I got there, and they've had a good look at it. They can't work out why the remote fob doesn't work, which is a bit of a shame. Apparently the fob works, but the car doesn't take programming, and can't be programmed to match the car, so they don't really know why that's going on. So we're going back next week, and they will replace the door lock, which is kind of cool. So we will get a new door lock for the car, which, you know, I was a bit hesitant to spend $400. I was thinking about it, and well, it's really irritating, and if the door locks, particularly in the winter, around here we get a lot of rain and then it gets very cold. So what happens is the doors freeze shut, which is quite irritating. But it's all the more irritating when you can't open other doors. So if you can't unlock another door, that would be quite annoying. That's it. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, hit the notification bar, and don't forget to click the Patreon link at the end of this video if you want to help us make more of these. Until next time, keep evolving. I have been known to have to climb in through the trunk in the middle of winter, which is not ideal. It's really not ideal when you're in a public car park. People think you're a bit odd when you climb in through the back of the car, but it is possible to climb in through the back of the dark car, put the seats down, reach around, unlock the front door because the lock barrels are frozen shut. So that's